Hello, my name is Zara Hoffman. I'm the self-published author of 6 books, a young adult paranormal romance trilogy and a new adult sci-fi romance trilogy. And in today's short but sweet video, which is being uploaded very late, I know, I am going to tell you something that I wish that someone had told me when I was very depressed my freshman year of college back in 2015. Now, I'm not saying that other people haven't told me that since, or even told me at the time, but it wasn't something that I heard from someone who was like in the same creative writing field as I am. I had it from family who were saying like, don't be so hard on yourself and things like that. Now, what I'm gonna say is not a surprise. It is the title of this video, but you are not what you do. Your self-worth is not tied to your productivity, and that productivity doesn't always have to be words that are written and then kept, or books that you've published, or blog posts, or anything that is like a tangible product of your work. And even if you're thinking, okay, then what about the time that I'm putting into work? That also doesn't determine your worth, because when I was very depressed, I was so depressed that I actually got the clinical diagnosis of major depressive disorder, which is still true, but a few years later I learned that the root of that was actually more tied into the fact that I have PTSD, complex PTSD at that, but that's not the point of this video. But basically, at the time, I was so depressed, I had no energy for anything. I slept all the time, and I went to class, and that was about it. I also did homework because I was terrified of flunking out of college even while completely depressed. So that tells you something about my skewed priorities at the time. I wasn't taking care of myself mentally or physically, but I was pushing myself to do well in school. And apparently I did it so well that I made Dean's List at the time. This is not a subtle flex, that's just a fact. And luckily, I haven't made the mistake of like, oh, I was doing really badly mentally, but look at how well I did, so I'm gonna try and recreate that. No, I don't do that. I don't recommend you do that. But as someone who has always been praised for academic excellence, but also always doing creative projects. So when I was younger, I started a newspaper, I started a nonprofit organization. Like, not really, I didn't file the paperwork and things like that, but I was knitting and selling things and then donating that money to charity. I was constantly coming up with like little plans, which had I been consistent with them, they could have become big plans like my self-publishing career, because I was writing since I was maybe 6. Like writing full stories. I was dictating stuff to my mom when I was even younger. I think I've mentioned that in a past video, or maybe it was Welcome to Writish, the first episode of the Writish podcast, which is linked down below as always. But yeah, when I was super depressed, like I mentioned, I was only sleeping and doing school, so I wasn't doing anything creative, and my self-worth was completely tied to the fact that I was a self-starter who was always doing creative projects. And my family had nothing to do with the fact that like I had tied that in. I mean, they're the ones who always praised me, but it's not as if when I didn't accomplish something, they made me feel worthless. It was a conflation that I had done myself, which may or may not have something to do with the psychology of being adopted and a different race in my family. Again, we're not getting into that. But what I want to say is that if you're feeling any of these similar things at any point in your life, and you have gotten over them, or you deal with them in like cycles or ups and downs when your productivity peaks and wanes, because obviously life is inconsistent. Sometimes things have to push your creative endeavors to the back burner, or maybe, you know, life just got crazy in ways that you didn't anticipate, and even non-creative things that have to be done got pushed down the list and or got put off another day and things like that. So I want you all to know who are watching that you are not what you do. Your self-worth is not tied to how productive you are, however you measure that, especially if you measure it by our capitalist society's workaholic culture. And it's okay to take rest. You know, I'm very good at it when it's a physical need, and I'm not as great about it with a mental or energy need, which is why burnout is always a looming figure that could hit me almost at any time. So if you need rest, or if you're just naturally not being as productive today, tomorrow, this week, this month, whatever, it's okay. It doesn't mean that you've lost your sense of self-worth. I don't subscribe to the idea that you have to be writing every single day to be a writer. I think if you can't imagine not writing in general, like in your life, then you're a writer. I don't think you need to do it every single day, and that if you break that chain, you're suddenly not worthy of the name. And I think that especially when it's because of other things that are coming up in your life, it's even more okay. And I think you need to forgive yourself for that. And that phrase itself is a little bit problematic, because we shouldn't have to feel guilty about taking time for ourselves away from our work so we avoid burnout. And then if we feel guilty, then we can forgive ourselves. But we shouldn't be feeling the guilt, period. But anyway, lastly, and again, you are not what you do. Your self-worth is not tied to your productivity. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell icon down below. I am trying to get monetized, so the closer I get to 1,000, the better. Also, I have writing timers on my channel, and if you want to use those while you're sprinting personally or running a sprint stream like I do, I would love for you to use those, because I also need more watch hours. And I would like to thank all of my Ko-fi supporters whose names are currently scrolling up on screen, and I will see you with the vlog on Saturday. Bye!